なります。会場の皆様はどうぞ熱い声援を選手にお伝えください。それでは最初の選手参りましょう。1番田中翔太、日本。
Swirl up at the top, and it has actually resulted in a few surprises, not least Wolfgang Leutzel, who only posted 97 meters in his trial jump here. Well, it is known as Sapporo weather, and it is so unpredictable. Some have been asking whether they should make the flight or not, especially the likes of Anna Malish, who of course is suffering from a lack of confidence at the moment. And the speeds off the table are falling here. Nowhere near the sort of 90 mark we have been used to earlier on, but 105.5 it is for Taka Yanagi. He's our leader for now, but there's an awful long way to go, don't forget. And Kazuya Yoshioka is next, and then we have, well, the great Higashi, Akira Higashi, who has an enormous career, of course, and the last real superstar, I suppose, for Japan, although I'm sure some of the younger boys will probably argue with that. But here comes Yoshioka, heading for 30 years of age now. Always does well in Sapporo. Last year finished in 15th place here, and well, quality will out, and certainly finding a little bit more distance. 109 meters it is for now for Yoshioka. Well, the Japanese love jumping at Sapporo, and well, it's a facility that's been around for an awful long time here. Built as it was back in 1931. It has a huge history, and the Emperor himself getting involved with helping it being built, and this is the man they call the Emperor. That's huge results 10 years ago now. Won in Planetary in 97, don't forget. Still a huge personality here, but age takes its toll, and Akira Higashi really well and truly in the veteran stakes now. 36 years of age, and putting it down as he does, Higashi, for 108.5. Second place for now. Familiar face to a lot of you. And the last of the early Japanese jumpers, it's Yuta Watasi next. Had some decent results in his time, but these days plying his trade in Confederation competition. 8th in Park City back in 2001. In he comes, and again up short. Well, it's a huge timetable that we've got for ourselves here, and crossed heels there, just not helping him get the lift that he needed, Watasi. And 104, despite his take-up speed, which wasn't that bad, 88.5, but 104 metres, unfortunately for him, is probably not going to feature in the second series of jumps here. And the wind has actually died to nothing. The snowflakes virtually coming straight down at the moment. And it's Austria's Kaltenberg out next, and Kaltenberg, what will he do here? There's the explosion off the table, and incoming, but oh, not bad at all. A little bit unstable on the landing, but he got some decent distance there, and I think we're into the teens. We are 113.5. Slightly open stance, more of a ski flyer really, and there, almost lost it. And our leader for now, and he'll be reasonably pleased with that, I have to say. Well, we're still to find anybody who's scored any points in the World Cup as yet, but Takanobu Okabe getting the biggest cheer of all. He is the oldest man out there. He turns 38 this year. Plies his trade in the entertainment business these days. All wrapped up within the ski jumping, and he's a big personality that is regular on talk shows, that kind of thing. But I think his days of at least knocking on the door of the top level in the World Cup are probably at an end. Huge career though, Okabe, and had some stunning results. Loved his flying back in the mid to late 70s, and again, perhaps a familiar face to an awful lot of you. Next up, it's Marcin Baśleda of Poland. Marcin's aim, really, it's qualification at World Cup level. Finished 31st in Garmisch, just missing out there from going through qualifying, and he'll be hoping that he can make it this time. 103.5 though is not really going to be there, I don't think, for Marcin. So the ambition remains for him of getting through this opening round. Next up, we've got the young 19-year-old Pole of Piotr Zila. Now, he jumped Baśleda in the training jumps here. Let's have a look at him now. Sort of willowy figure, quite tall. And away he comes. Well, getting a reasonable out of lift. There's a slight suggestion of a crosswind there, but I think it might well have been a lack of control, I have to say. Just watch his right ski nearest to you now, and it's really all over the place, and he was fading off towards the left there. It was starting to get into a dangerous position. He did get some distance, 106, but not much control. So it's Korea's Yong-Yik Choi up next. Some local support, as you can hear. The Korean drums are out. And away comes. Young student still. Good low position on the approach. But just didn't get the explosion, and you could see as well, the flight was just a little bit tight. Open heels at the back, the chevron not really in place, missed out on the lift, and unfortunately for him, 101 metres was the result. Down in 10th place for now, and there's an awful lot of talent still to come. Yeah, we got 50 this morning. We'll take a short break after that, and the top 30 will be contesting for the points for today. Maxim Anisimov is next from Belarus. Young man who hails from Minsk, and in he comes. Well, it looked good on the in run. That's a flyer stance. How much good will it do him here today? well, not a bad distance, but his skis just a little bit wide apart. Perfect for Planitzer, not really so good for Sapporo. There's a different approach between flying and jumping, and it's all to do with the dynamics of the table and the way it throws you out. And there is Sapporo way down in the Vales, and clearly the snow has decided to count against those who are thinking of coming up for this evening. Modest crowds under the lights here. A number of nighttime events leading up, of course, to the Ski Flying World Championship in Oberstdorf, which is also under lights at night, which should prove to be extremely dramatic. And we're hoping that David Goldstrom will be fit and happy and back with us for that. Fumihisa Yumoto next, and that was good, very good indeed, and up there in the late teens. And at last we're finding some distance here, and suddenly we've got, it's well, mid to late teens I should say, 114.5 it turned out to be in the end, but it's our biggest jump so far. And we're on gate 15, don't forget, which is a short run-in, which explains why our takeoff speeds are not really up there at the time being, but he's the best so far, and as far as he's concerned, the most important thing is probably that he is the best of the Japanese. Qualified in 15th place, Yumoto, and Choi as well also did well, qualified down in 19th place, which not that bad. Would have been good enough to gain qualification. Will he make it this time? And that looked handy as well. Choi just spotting it beautifully. Good compact jumper, and well, just didn't quite get the explosion he might well have hoped for off the table there, but coming in managed to hold on to it, and 113.5 was his reward, and I suspect that might be good enough for him to go through to the next round. The benchmark, the cutoff point, is probably going to be, well, it may not make it, it's probably going to be around about 115. Let's take a guess at that. It's Francis Vincent Deschamps-Savoie up next. And in he comes. That's more like it. Clean, 88.2, but how far will he go? And puts it down around about the 14 mark again, but he's happy with that. They were 113.5 it was. He says thank you very much in strain conditions, obviously. Looking for qualification. Where will that benchmark line be? Well, he thinks he's clearly crossed it. Second place for now. So maybe it will be around about the 114, 115 mark to guarantee a place in the next round at this short starting gate. Well, let's wait and see. Stefan Ula, it is. And away comes. Now Stefan did a tremendous qualification jump. Loved life. Oh, and puts it down very, very close to the K point as well. And Ula has found himself liking this hill. 114.5, and I suspect he might well get good points here. I think he might be looking at the leader. Let's take a look at the in-flight. Well, nice and solid, good aggression as well, in control, and spots the telemark beautifully. I think he's our number one. Number two he is, 101.6 from the judges, and up top stays Yumoto of Japan. Yuri Tepes of Slovenia, just 18 years of age. Incoming. Oh, nice, very nice. And how much air is he going to take here? Well, unfortunately, just peaked it. And the hands go down, as you can see. Well, here's us calling it, but just left the explosion a bit late. From that moment on, was open-handed and trying to get some lift. Well, there we have it, Yuri Tepes. 107, and that's a shame. But it's a very short in-run. When it comes to the ski flying, the in-run absolutely enormous, and as the speeds rise, of course, you have less time to decide where to make your takeoff point, and it's almost advisable to, in training, Just go for it a little bit early to make sure you hit it. And Tepes leaving it a little bit late. Yuri Bogataj. Again off the tip of the table. And up short for Bogataj as well. Still jumping as the skis left. And 99.5. And last bar one, unfortunately, for Yuri. And that's a shame because he's been a point scorer this year. Dmitry Ipatov of Russia joins us now. And that benchmark of 114.5 is looking like easily qualification for the all-important jump off for points by the top 30. We'll wait and see. Ipatov then on the attack. And again up short. Well, they talk about Sapporo weather and say it really is punishing, but just taking a look at the way the snow is falling here and the wind direction. And for the time being, although we haven't had any wind graphics, I suspect it's maybe, well, because it's just hanging dead in the air at the moment. 104.5 for Ipatov, and that benchmark of progress in this competition may well be pulling back here. And a big cheer here for Tochimoto. Shohei Tochimoto, top Japanese in qualification, and loves that status. 18 years of age, managed 123.5 meters in the trial just a little bit earlier. Oh, that's a good flight as well. And he's going to be comfortably a feature of the latter part of this morning. 118.5. And that was a super jump by Tochimoto. Still at high school. And, well, a picture, you have to say. Beautifully done. And 118.5. Top spot with 109 points. Guido Lander of Switzerland is next. He really does blow hot and cold. Qualified on a number of occasions this season. Finds himself 41st in the ranking of the World Cup. And that was up short, but it'll be good enough, one would have thought, for Guido. No, I'm not so sure. 107.5. Well, maybe it will. We've had some really short jumps so far. In fact, I don't think it's going to make it. He won't be taking further part today, which is a shame for him. Primoz Peterka is up next, a massive name in jumping, has been for so many years, as Guido strolls off. And as you can see, there isn't even enough wind to blow around that propeller. A vertical snow day. So, absolutely very little lift out there at all. Ideally, you'd like a little bit in your face. And here comes Peterka right now. Well, his mighty career just on the ebb. You never know, he can still pull it out the bag when he needs to. Well, not bad, but clearly not earth-shattering either. 112. And the way things are going, it may well be that 112 is good enough to take him on. We're starting to reach the midway point of the field here. And he's 6th for now. And looks slightly disturbed, you have to say. Shoulders drop for Peterka. Stefan Hock is next. Hocker. Qualified 18th. Didn't do bad considering his starting bib. So he's improved himself. And currently 39th in the ranking as well. Picked up some points of late. Away he comes. 88.6, not the quickest off the table. And up short again. and looks moderately upset about it as well. 106 metres, and you have to say some of these bigger names, and Hocker can count himself up there as well as pretty much Paterka, naturally enough. We've got Ljokolsoy up next. Now this will be a good benchmark because Ljokolsoy is the hill record holder here, 140 metres, and he's up next. He managed 121.5 in the trial just before we came to you live here from Sapporo on Eurosport, and here is Ljokolsoy, and he looks pensive, doesn't he? Nobody looks particularly happy about being out there, and here he comes. He's underway, 31 years of age, and a mighty leap it was in 2006 that gave him the record. Well, he likes the hill, and the hill likes him as well, and thank you very much. Suddenly we're getting up there around the 120s, and in fact it's bang on. So Roy Ljokolsoy finally hits the K point, and it remains to be seen who joins him up there. It's not been a great showing so far, but then conditions have not helped, and Ljokolsoy will, I have to tell you, be quite pleased with that. He will take that. 113 points. And Robert Kraniec, it is next. Great view of the in-run under lights here at Sapporo. There's the city down below. 88.9 is good speed, and it's a good put down as well. Camera just, the crucial camera we've got there, just flaring, unfortunately. 118.5, just flaring on the put down point when we watch it from above, and as you can see, 1.5 meters just shy of that magic red line. 110.3 is his points tally, and Robert Kraniec strolls off as into place comes Daiki Ito of Japan. 3, the remaining, in fact, Japanese jumpers. Noriaki Kasai, the leading Japanese in the World Cup, will be coming with bib 28. This is Ito on 26, and here he comes. 123.5 he managed in training. Conditions were much similar, and he just broke the jump there as the line approached, and I think just shy of it. 116 meters it was. Good takeoff. Just looking at his heels here as well, just slightly out of line of each other, and so critical it is to get everything absolutely perfect, but for the time being he's lying in 4th place. Well, Ljokolsoy hitting that 120 mark has done us all kinds of favours. Robert Kraniec nearest to him at the moment, but Japanese good representation, 3 in the top 5 so far. Will it be another here? Takeuchi up next. They do know this hill, naturally enough. It's part of the training regime, and of course it's the most famous hill in Japan, being the oldest and most revered venue, of course, of the 1972 Winter Olympics here, and away he comes. That's good, and Takeuchi gets the applause, and it's the leading jump so far, 120.5. We'll see what the judges thought of his style here. Slightly bent, I'm sure, for European judges. We'll wait and see. I suspect he's going to be the number 1, and he is. 113.9, no doubt about it. Went further and spotted it beautifully. So Noriaki Kasai is next, and well, the cheers ring out for him. And just as Sapporo wakes up to the fact that some of their boys are definitely going to be there through into the next round, the crowds are starting to arrive at the end of a busy evening's work. Kasai underway. Here he comes, and he's up short. $112.5. well, maybe the pressure of it just getting to him a little bit. We know all about that, the way Adam Malish was jumping ever since Val di Fiemme, and onwards from that point. Harashov managed to get it back at Zakopane in appalling conditions, and it's just all about belief. It's amazing as well how form can just desert you, and Adam Malish decided to give Sapporo a miss. Doesn't really want to upset the tenuous link he got back with good jumping at Zakopane, finishing fourth on the final day's competition there. Fettner it is now, in the air and well short. Well, they need some lift here, not getting any. It's amazing that we had a little bit of swirly wind during the trial jumps, but there's no lift here at all, and 109 is not the best distance. Well, next up we've got Pavel Karelin. He's the youngest of the day, and as you can see, we have just a suggestion of a headwind here, and that's exactly what we're after. So Pavel Karelin it is, 17 years of age and underway. Managed 122.5 in the trial. Here he comes. We've got a little bit of wind into the face, but well, didn't help him at all, and Karelin comes up well short, I'm afraid. 104.5. Well, when we suggested that 114 might well be safe qualification, we kind of wondered and half corrected ourselves, but it looks like that's going to be the benchmark. If you can get over 114, you're going to be progressing, and that's not a mighty distance when you know that the hill record here is 140. 140. 114 should get you through to the next round, and we may well just take another forerunner here before we get through to the top 10 qualifiers and those who pre-qualified as well at Sapporo. There it is, the standings so far. Tako Tekeuchi just ahead of Norway's Roar Jokelsoy, and you can get the distance provided you get absolutely everything bang on here, but it really is the best distance so far. And there, as you can see, tumbling down the order, there's an awful lot under that, what we believe will be a benchmark. Maybe it'll be even lower than 114 meters. We'll wait and see. We've got some talent coming up right now, and it'll be Michael Ehrmann of Germany who leads off the top 10 qualifiers. Beautiful facility here, all renovated and upgraded in 2007 for the Nordic Skiing World Championships. And the Okura Hill, as it's known, named after a local dukedom, if you like, helped by the emperor back in the 1930s. Still carries the name of the man who inspired it and decided that ski jumping was the thing to do. I'm glad he did. Ehrmann underway, here he comes. And up short again. It really is a day to stay away, I think, and maybe Schlieren-Zauer and Ahonen have done the right thing. Thomas Morgenstern is here. Let's not do it down at all. Morgenstern's here, so is Tom Hilder, Wolfgang Leutzel, Anders Bardal, Andreas Kuttel as well, Simon Amann and Andreas Kofler, as well as Anders Jakobsen. They all feature in the top 10 of the World Cup, and some of the replacement names coming into that top 10, if you like. 12th in the World Cup, Michael Neumeier didn't have to pre-qualify, and neither did number 15 in the standings, Bjorn Einar Romaren, the world record holder of ski flying. You'll be thinking ever further ahead to Oberstdorf at the moment. So Ehrmann managing 109 meters. Let's have a look at Harry Ollie. He's put in some great performances so far, and there's another one for the young Finn. Well, it's nice to see Harry Ollie actually jumping here, because he crashed out in qualifying and we thought he'd fallen off the back of the qualification list. But Harry can pull it out when he needs to and gets 119 meters right here. Well, that is a good effort, you've got to say. He was great in Zakopane, you may remember. finishing up there in 5th place, I think it was. And we've been talking up for a while. And going 10 meters further than Michael Ehrmann. Just shows which direction Harry Olli is in. This is Kamil Stoch now of Poland. Now Harry Olli, incidentally, managed 137.5 meters in the trial, and was one of those, I think, that may well have been helped by a little bit of gust. He would, of course, put it all down to talent. Let's see what Kamil Stoch can do. And as you can see, he's way short of what Olli just did. So Kamil Stoch, 104. And I think you might be, with Harry Olli, if it's a combined jump and he can string them both together, you might be looking at a podium for the young Finn. I thought he was going to get it last time out at Zakopane. Didn't quite happen for him. Obviously, there's some big names here, but there's some big names missing as well. Kamil Stoch reasonably pleased, it seems, with his efforts, despite the fact that that may well have been a farewell kiss. You never know, 104 meters. It's not been an easy day. Emmanuel Chedal of France, the French team still reeling after one of their number, of course, picked up the wrong bib and then was DQ'd after leading qualifying. But it wasn't Chedal, and down he comes. 119.5 he managed in the trial. Good speed as well here, but up short again. Well. Only 107.5. Now, when you know that, and you see what Harry Olli did at 119 just moments ago, and he's surrounded by those who've come up underneath the 110 meter mark, it just shows you what Harry Olli's jump was out there. It was special. Harry Olli lying in 3rd place, a metre short of Jokelsoris distance. Takeuchi still our leader there with 120.5 meters. Denis Kornilov. What can Denis do here, the Russian? His coach sending him away. There's not a great deal of choice in terms of when's the best wind time to go. 88.9 though, not bad, and just about bang on the line there. 116.5. In fact, my eye's deceiving me, unfortunately. Well, we've had some odd ones today, I have to say. Denis down in 6th place for now. I think that graphic, yes, Denis Kornilov. 116.5, not 106.5. So if that graphic was wrong, apologies on their behalf. In fact, it was 106.2 was his points tally, 116.5. So Martin Schmidt next held the record at this hill for a long time. Back in 1999, jumped 139 meters. How will he do this time? He's not going to get anywhere near that, you can be sure, with these conditions. Oh dear, well that speaks volumes, doesn't it? Because Martin Schmidt currently 21st in the World Cup standings, and poor Martin manages 111. Wow, it's really going to throw this wide open here, because some of the bigger names are coming up well short, and some of the relative unknowns have exceeded them, and the qualification line is getting pulled ever further back here. 20 will be eliminated out of the 50, don't forget. We still have 14 to jump. It's Arthur Pauli up next, the 18-year-old Austrian, hampered by wind, they claimed, during the trial run. Just checks his bindings, gets himself sorted out, and Arthur Pauli, very meaty character, diminutive of stature but very powerful as well. Good takeoff speed, good explosion as well. But how far? Well, far enough is the answer. It's combined jumps, don't forget. 115.5 will get him into the second jump situation, but an awful lot have gone further than that, and he'll have to pull out something exceptional when it comes to the second jump, which he will be contesting, but he's 8th for now. Well, Happinen it is next. Now, Happinen qualified fourth best out of those who had to qualify. Best 10 from the World Cup here, of course, pre-qualifying as ever. But Happinen, effectively 14th then, if you believe that the top 10 would have out-jumped him. Managed 123 as well in the training jump earlier on this morning, just as we were reaching dusk here in Sapporo. We're under the lights now in the evening. 88.9. Oh, and he held that up beautifully, and Happinen has suddenly pulled it out of the bag here, and his coach will be delighted with that. 120.5. Now that could be a winning position the way things are going at the moment, if he can just do that again next time by, because it is so difficult out there. We've got the mighty Morgenstern, who's made the trip here. Other big names just deciding to hold back a little bit and start to think about Liberec, which is another night event taking place next Friday, of course. Not a lot of time for those who have made the trip to kind of recover, get their heads back together for Liberec. Then it's Villingen very shortly after that, a week later. And then, of course, we have the ski flying at Oberstdorf, leading into the final sort of 15-day blast of the season. So Martin Koch it is next, of Austria. Here he is on the in-run. Not perhaps as flat as he might be. 89.6 is one of the best takeoff speeds we've seen so far. When's he coming down? That's good by Martin Koch. He knows it as well. Well, everything's strung together there. The in-run, the takeoff as well. Let's take a look at it now. This is it off the table, just 3.3 meters above the ground, and just gets that lovely little crest. Holds on to the chevron, crossed heels slightly before he came in, but 123.5, no doubt about it. Our leader, and that's how pleased he is. Leading for now. Where's he gone? There he is. I'm sure we'll be seeing an awful lot more of him. Dmitry Vassiliev, another very explosive figure as well, who can produce some great results. He was 6th in qualifying, Vassiliev, and a massive competitor as well. And some great results. Podium last year at TTC. Just off it so far, and there the target line being shown for us by our hosts here graphically, but 111.5 is a disappointment for Dimitri. Well, we've got Bjorn Eier Romaren up next, and drama, of course, surrounding him at Val di Fiemme when he crashed out on his landing, failed to check his bindings, and then lost a ski mid-air. The most dramatic shot we've had so far this season. He's next. So here is the mighty Norse, and a mixed time so far this season, but he has got into pre-qualifying. He's lies 15th in the standings, but naturally he is one to watch out for at Oberstdorf when it comes to flying. A flying specialist, and loves competing at night as well. Let's see what he does here. Decent speed, good poise, but unfortunately for him, just not quite as far as he would have liked. 116.5, and again the hill is beating some big names here. Well, slightly muted as the crowds continue to arrive here, and a shake of the head by Romaren, and conditions doing nobody favours at all. See the snow, it's just coming straight down here. No wind whatsoever, and so as a result very little lift. Michael Neumeier of Germany getting into position. And away you go, says his coach, Peter Rovine. And in he comes. Classical position. Tail fins out the back. 89.3, one of the best speeds so far. And up short again for Neumeier. No lift, everything else was strung together reasonably well, but 117 meters is all he managed to pull out of this. Well, Sapporo weather, which they talk about so often, just not doing them any favors. And well, those who haven't made the trip here might well be watching this, and I suspect they are, and probably thinking, well, it was a reasonably good decision. Slittendower is one of those who hasn't come. We hear that Jari Ahonen may well be unwell. Adam Malish is out of form. Yanni Damian and Roman Kudelka thinking that they may well stay at home and just watch this one out and focus more on keeping their fatigue levels down and thinking about Liberec next week. Jakobsen in flight. Oh, held that up as long as he possibly could. You saw the skis getting almost vertical to his body and to the piste, you have to say, as well. And Jakobsen working so hard, and that's his result. That is his reward. Watch how upright he gets. He almost stalls in flight here, slams it down. Slight suggestion of double-footedness, and he's in 6th place with 110.3 points. I don't know if he can only do it again, but as you can see, the propeller, it's just trying to find some kind of direction at the moment, and there isn't a whole lot of wind out there. Andreas Kofler of Austria, 9th in the standings, and a tremendous run at Engelberg. And of course Trondheim as well, still looking for his opening win of the season. Well, good, but not the best. 115.5. It'll get him into the next round, but way down the order, and some huge names are being pushed back here. Simon Amann coming up next, and he's been handy so far this season. On the podium in Bischofshofen, Amann. Yes, 8th in, was on the podium as well in Zakopane, of course, finishing just behind Morgenstern and Anders Bardal, who won the Sunday event there. And we'll see how he goes here. He can pull it out of the bag, and he managed 130.5 in the training jump when an awful lot were going down towards the 120. So expect him to hit the line, and he doesn't. He doesn't. Well, there it is, you see. Even the bigger names here looking very rueful, and as well they might. You've got to string two together, don't forget, but if the wind does pick up, and it can change dramatically here, but the huge names well within the top 10 of the World Cup are falling perhaps 8 meters shy of the best jump out there so far, which was Martin Koch, and that wasn't very long ago. 123.5. And Simon Amann. Simi, come in. What do you think of that? Not a great deal, he says. Well, the snow's coming heavier now, and it'll start to affect the in-run. Ultimately, not quite just yet. Andreas Kuttel, what can he do? Great win for him in Engelberg. In flight now, 89.6. It's good speed, good technique, but how far? Well, not bad, you have to say. He won't be 117 in. He won't be writing letters home about it. And our benchmark has really adjusted. It's pulled way back here. Anders Bardal of Norway will be up next. But Andreas Kuttel only 9th so far. And he knows he's got a big job on his hands to do the business for the next one. Here is Bardal getting himself into position, and they want to get this one over and done with as quickly as possible, because it really is starting to come down in clods now. As soon as that gets onto the in-run, it can just hamper you. Last thing you want is any kind of stickiness in the tram lines as you head down here. Off the table he comes, 89.2. Well, it didn't look bad, but you heard the heels coming down early. 117. It's about the best of it right at the moment. In fact, none of the previous three had beaten that. And in fact, if I look back, the last 8 jumpers have all come in under the 120 mark, and really That's where you need to be if you're going to be thinking about a podium place. Those who have managed 120, well, they'll be just hoping that they can repeat the feat. And there it is. There is your standings. And away we come. Harry Ollie managing just 119, but of course the points coming in to play here. Up short from the K point, and 110.7 was his points tally. Incoming. And Wolfgang Leutzel, 116 meters. Well, the chevron not quite lighting us up, but they're doing as best as they can in these conditions. And 106.8 is what he picks up. 110.3. Frans Jacobsen ahead of him, and plenty of other names are ahead of him. Tom Hilde now, just 2 to go. So Tom Hilde and Thomas Morgenstern, well, surely nervous about what's gone down, what's gone before, because some big jumpers, although I have to say Leutzel didn't do much in training, but Tom Hilde did. He managed 126.5 and Morgenstern 128.5, and it's a good attack by Hilde, but is he being done any favours here? And that looked better. Tom Hilde has managed to pull something out the bag here, and all credit to him, you have to say. 119.5, and that shows the class of Tom Hilde. Now this will be good for him as far as the rankings are concerned, because Hilde is currently lying in 4th place, and both Gregor Schlierenzauer and Janne Ahonen ahead of him in the ranking are not here, and so good victory here for him would do him all kinds of favours in terms of the World Cup, and Gregor Schlierenzauer and Janne Ahonen may well be regretting their absence from this one here in Japan. It's Thomas Morgenstern next up, and this will be the last of our opening jumpers. Morgenstern checking everything, and away he comes. A huge talent. He's been amazing this season. What a start he had. Kusumo, Trondheim and Villach just totally dominant, and sails it in, and that's why he's #1 here. And if he wins both days, he will have just about wrapped up the World Cup. 125.5. That is talent. Absolutely airborne. And well, the applause goes head height because of that. That was superb. Thomas Morgenstern, let's take a look at this. Look how low he is on the in-run. Huge explosion, and immediately adjusting his flight here, holding on, perfect chevron and sailing it in. Absolutely brilliant. Well, a lovely V flight, and putting it down as well with style. And there is the nod of expectation and approval. There's the man. 126.4. What can you say? #1, and at the end of this weekend may well have wrapped up the title, because who could possibly catch him? Winning Trondheim, Kuznov, Engelberg, Oberstdorf and Villach, and runner-up in Val di Fiemme, Zakopane, Bischofshofen. The list is absolutely enormous, and Thomas Morgenstern has just flown out here, and the wind is picking up, but it is a crosswind. You could see that Morgenstern was fighting against it. There he is. So where will be the benchmark, the cut-off point? Don't forget, only 30 will progress here. Stunning performance, you have to say. Harry Ollie just missing out, but I expect he will be up there and may well be challenging for a podium position as well. Anders Jacobsen half a metre behind him. Bjorn Einar Romaren down in 16th place. Simon and Mann 18th. These are big names that licking their wounds, don't forget. And as you go further down, Japanese representation there will be plenty of it as well. Yamamoto amongst the last of them, and in fact Okabe just getting in, and the benchmark, the cutoff point, was 110 meters with the points that Okabe got. Anyone under 110 meters has failed to progress. Michael Ehrmann will be wondering, Emmanuel Chadal will be wondering as well, Stefan Hocker, Some big names here. Dmitry Ipatov as well usually makes it through. They haven't so here in Japan. It's been difficult weather conditions. They've been coming up short. We will have the best 30 after a short break and a look at the top 6 finishers. We'll be back in a moment live here in Sapporo on Eurosport.